somewhere in the, I believe in the 1700s, there was this war between some Chinese tribes and the Kingdom of Korea. And the Chinese tribes, remember, China was an empire, so there were also local kingdoms and duchies below the emperor. And sometimes those local kingdoms operated on their own. It happened. That's what you get when you have such a large territory. But okay, so there was this war between Chinese tribes and the Kingdom of Korea. And the Chinese tribes wanted to invade the Kingdom of Korea, due to the wealth that was there in the urban areas. But they did not have approval of the emperor. But the Chinese tribes wanted to prove themselves to the emperor that they were able to do this. Why? There were more noble households throughout the Chinese Empire that longed to invade Korea. But though to the difficulty of managing Korea as a peninsula, many didn't want to take the effort. Why? Because during that time, you had to transport things by road. Transportation by ship was also available, but many things still were done by road. And managing a territory had to happen by land, so you need to have roads. And in the north of the Korean Peninsula, there's a large mountain range, and it can be quite cold over there. So it's very difficult to manage a territory beyond that mountain range. So those Chinese tribes, they invaded Korea and they attacked several towns in the north. The north was quite agricultural. You didn't have many big cities over there. So one day, the general of Joseon, because that's how Korea was called after the royal dynasty Joseon, the general of Joseon told the king, "King, we need to take action. The Chinese forces invaded our country." The king discussed the matter with the priest class, and the priest class told them, "Let it go, let it happen." So the king told the general, "You're not going to take any action." Next year, 5 villages were sacked. Is that the way you say it in English? Well, 5 villages were looted. Let me say it better. And many civilians became upset why the Joseon government didn't do anything. The priest class again told the king, "Let it happen." The king listened, because the priest class was above the king. Okay? The king was head of state, but the state was managed by the priest class. So the general now became furious, because he thought, we need to do something. If we allow this to continue, we will make a fool of ourselves for the whole world. And the priest class told the king in the 3rd year, send an ambassador to the Chinese capital and bring tribute to the king. Bring some silver, some gold, and some young virgin women between age 10 and 15. Just bring them, send them to the emperor. They did. The tribute was received well. So, in the 5th year, suddenly all the attacks stopped. And then the general asked the king, "King, what did you do?" The king said, "I didn't do anything." Ask the priests. Why? So the general went to the priest, because the general wanted answers. Because the general had received a lot of criticism by his own troops that accused him of treason against the king, even though it was the king himself that told him, "Don't do anything." Well, sometimes in life you can be in a difficult situation and people are questioning you, but it's really not in your control. Well, this is a difficult situation, but let's go back to the parable. The general went to the priest class. Normally he's not allowed to do that, but the king permitted him. And before the priest class, the general asked, "Why? Why do you have to endure 5 years of assault on our borders, in our territory?" Then one of the priests told him, "Go to the south of Joseon, visit the ports, and come back." The general felt offended, because he thought, "Hold on a minute, I want some answers here. You are the priest class." Well, okay, the general did it. He and some troops sailed around Korea and came back. When he came back, the same priest asked him, "What did you see?" The, the journal said there are many Chinese migrants that migrated to Korea. A lot of them even learn a language and even bring a lot of wealth with them. Then the priest said, aha, and you were complaining about why we allowed the borders to be attacked for 5 years long. The general said, yes, of course I want to know why. I need to give an explanation to my men. Then the priest told them, okay, look, many within China want to eradicate us. They want to remove us. They don't want the Joseon dynasty to exist. They just want to invade us because part of China, so that the emperor can install his vassals in this territory. But when those Chinese nobles in Manchuria began to attack us, many of other noble households in China approved it, because they thought they're doing the dirty job for us. When Korea is completely exhausted, it's just a matter of time before the people of Korea will revolt against the chosen king, and when there's total chaos, we just take it for us. And then we can justify it with the mandate of heaven that Korea was in chaos and we restored order. But because we didn't respond, because we didn't give in to the violence, we were not drawn into a cycle of violence. And because of this, the Chinese troops that attacked us became frustrated. And here's the thing, those Chinese troops had to be paid. So the longer the attacks continued, the more they had to be paid. And the bankers and the businessmen that were financing the war became tired. So thought, okay, we're spending money. When is it going to stop? So people got exhausted. And also, it became an embarrassment to the Chinese Empire that they kept on invading us, but it didn't succeed. And we sent kindness to the emperor. We paid tribute. So now, when this came out, because we also sent messengers throughout China to spread the news that Korea pays a lot of tributes to the king, to the emperor, even though it wasn't much tribute, we spread the news, we paid tribute, which was true, but we exaggerated it a bit. So many Chinese civilians began to ask, hold on a minute, if Korea is paying tributes to the Son of Heaven who's governing China, then why is the Son of Heaven permitting his subjects to assault a nation that pays tribute unto him? So this caused dissatisfaction against the emperor. And now the Chinese rule was threatened, because once the civilians rise up against the local kings, the Chinese empire is gone. And what happened was that many civilians realized that, hold on a minute, this Chinese rule doesn't add up. So many fled from China into Korea, and they brought much wealth with them. So listen, General, we weren't cowards by allowing those attacks to continue. We looked at the bigger picture. We knew that sooner or later this would backfire on the Chinese Empire. And we knew that if it backfired, we could benefit from it later on. So now you have thousands of Chinese migrants. They brought thousands of pieces of silver, gold, and cattle over here. So now the Korean economy received a boost. We now have an increase in our economy, and the welfare of the Korean people has also increased. So, if we would have done it your way, and your way was not wrong, okay, you were right, we should have taken action against the attacks. But if we would have done it your way, what would have happened was that we would have been stuck in a war. That war would have cost us a lot of money. It would have drained the treasury of the state. It would have cost the lives of many young men. And the loss of those lives would cause a lot of trauma to the country. So it would have given in. We would have done the right thing, but the right thing would have destroyed us in the long run. Instead, we just endured what they were doing, while at the same time overruling it with diplomacy and by exploiting the consequences of our diplomacy. The Korean general realized, I got it. I finally understand it. You did not want us to be drained with self-defense, because self-defense would have been our ruin. Then the priest told them, exactly. And look at the situation now. We didn't lose any Korean lives to the war. And not only that, our population size has increased because we have thousands of Chinese that will naturalize as Koreans. They will marry Koreans, they will remain here, they will assimilate, and the wealth if brought from China will remain here. So we don't lose anything. Now, that was a long parable, I know it, but understand the following. There are times the Holy Spirit will allow certain things to continue. In Babylon Church, they tell you it's your fault. You need to take action. You need to do this. Because they put a finger at you with guilt, blame, and condemnation. Forget all about that. You agree with Christ, so you operate in His power. And He is Lord over His power. Okay? You may, and let me say it like this. Christ is called the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. If you would be a king, He's the King of Kings. And He's the great high priest also. He's the wonderful counselor. So you are subjected unto the king, who is the King of Kings. Okay? So if you would be the king or the queen, He is above you. Because your legitimacy comes from Him. And here's the thing. When the Holy Spirit allows certain things to continue against you, it is because He is rectifying it on your behalf. For example, it can be that you have financial difficulties that keep following you. And you think, Holy Spirit, what's going on? I agree with your word. I agree with Christ. I speak your word. I decree health and wealth. Oh, I also reach out to others. What's going on? While the assaults are going on, look what happens. You are overruling it. When things go wrong, at least from our point of view, you tend to ask yourself what went wrong. You evaluate yourself. Then you go into history. You look for answers, and so you are growing and developing while the assaults are going on. So the discomfort that enemy brings to you is intended to harm you, okay? But the Lord uses that same discomfort as a provision to deliver you from worldly ways of thinking and to grow you, okay? So after about 4 years of financial difficulty, the Holy Spirit tells you, John, where's your business card? And you think to yourself, Holy Spirit, what's going on there? You're God, He sees everything. Why do you ask me to pick up my business card? The Holy Spirit said to pick it up. So you think, okay, yes, Lord, I have a business card. What's going on? The Holy Spirit said, let's look at it. I said, yes, Lord, I'm looking. It's a business card. So what? And then it gets through to you. 5 years ago, your mentality was, well, I need to go every day to my job, and I need to find a way to earn a living. And well, this is how it's going to be till I become 70 and I go with pension, and then I'll see what I'll do with my life. That's what you're thinking. And you were secure going to the world because you had a stable income. But the Holy Spirit didn't want you to operate like that. The Holy Spirit was not against you having that job, not having that income. The Holy Spirit didn't want you to treat that job as a God. So when you had all those financial difficulties coming against you, you were freed from the toxic attachments to your paycheck. There's nothing wrong with the paycheck, okay? But if you become attached to getting a paycheck every month, you're in bondage. Okay? You can receive a paycheck every month for the work you do. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you get attached to the routine of receiving a paycheck, when you begin to depend upon it, that's idolatry. You're not aware it's idolatry, but you stagnate. You're not active anymore. And because you're not active anymore, you lose sight of what's around you. Your perception becomes distorted. And once your perception is distorted, Satan can easily snatch you away. And Satan can easily snatch anyone around you away because you're not alert to reach out onto others. So when the assaults begin, the Holy Spirit allowed it to happen, but He did that in your favor and in the favor of those around you. Because now you were alert. Now you checked the stock market, what's going on. Now you checked you didn't really follow the news because you know a lot of it is bullcrap, but you were alert what's going on around you. You formed business contacts here and there. And because you had business contacts, there were people that needed jobs that you could refer them to jobs. So now you became economically relevant. Okay? So all that happened within 5 years. And now you have this business card in your hand. What happened? The Holy Spirit allowed it to happen so that your ladder would be greater than the first. First, you had a stable income, you were in a routine, and that's it. Now, you still have a job, but besides that job, you had many investments here and there, and the extra additional income that you have is far more than you get with your job. So you don't even have to work. You were just not aware of it. It didn't got through to you. But that's where you are now. So your latter is greater than your first. So your latter is greater and the best. Okay? But to get to your latter, the former had to go. So all those assaults against you, it was wrong. God did not make people do it. They did it, but the Lord used it as a provision to promote you from the former to the latter. And some of you are watching this, you are in a transition from the former to the latter. You're already on the side of the latter, but you're still affected by the assaults on the former. But the former, God wanted it to end. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because God wanted you to go from the former to the better. Okay? And the better will last forever. The better is far deeper and far richer in quality than the former. The former maybe have been a good thing, but Lord wanted you to have the better. Okay? Okay, imagine now. Okay, let us go back in history. You had the Israelites who were slaves in Egypt, and you had the land of Goshen. In Goshen, you had many oases here and there. Those were small plots of fertile land here and there within the desert. Let's say there were Israelites that lived in those oases. They were lived over there. But here's the thing. You're still on the Egyptian rule. You're still under the Egyptian yoke. You still have to pay you're still haunted by slavery. But here's the thing. Christ didn't want the Israelites to be satisfied with Goshen. He wanted them to own and possess the land of Canaan, so they would glorify him over there. And the land of Canaan is fertile. The whole land is fertile. While in Goshen, which was just an extension of Egypt, you only had small oases here and there. And even those oases were exploited by Pharaoh's administration. So now not only are you free from Pharaoh's administration, you had to say goodbye to your comforts of Goshen, but now you're in the land of Canaan, and in freedom you glorify Christ. I'm using this as a parable. Christ didn't want you to be satisfied with the former. He wanted to give you the latter. That's why Christ, as the great high priest, allowed certain things to happen. There were times you wanted to take action, but the Holy Spirit said, no. Maybe not action against attacks, but you want to take proactive action for your future. The Holy Spirit said, not necessary. Because sometimes when you think I need to take action, the Holy Spirit has solved it before you even were aware of it. For example, in the parable I gave unto you, there was this guy that the Lord told him to look at his business card. And incidentally he realized, hold on a minute. I was thinking about having to find a way to exchange my personal details as a businessman, to exchange my business contact details more easily. Hold on a minute. I printed these business cards 2 years ago, but it's still relevant. I ordered like 500 of them, and still have 100 of them left. And then you guys, hold on a minute. I've spent 400 business cards. That's a good sign. So what you think about now, this needs to happen, the Holy Spirit beforehand already arranged it. But you were still upset with attacks on the former, that you didn't realize that you were already walking in the better. So I hope this video has encouraged those that need it. When the Holy Spirit allows certain things to continue with you, it's only because He has already rectified it for the better. Your ladder is greater. It's the best. Let me say it like this. The only reason the Holy Spirit allowed the Israelites to become slaves in Egypt, He could have prevented it, just like He used Joseph. He could have raised up someone else amongst the Israelites and prevented it. But when Abraham was in communion with the Most High, the Most High told him that your descendants will become slaves for 100 years long. And those 400 years began from that moment that the Holy Spirit spoke it to Abraham. So Abraham from then till the day the Moses led the Egyptians, led the Israelites, out of Egypt. It was 430 years. So in fact, them as a nation in total spent like 200 years in slavery. The 400 years are counted from Abraham till the day they left Egypt. But here's the thing. The Holy Spirit could have prevented it. But before the nation was born, the Holy Spirit already decided we're going to allow this to happen. You know why? The Holy Spirit allowed them to be mistreated, abused, and all of that, to go through all those traumatic cycles, so that later he would raise up Moses and glorify himself before the whole world. So when the Lord used Pharaoh's hardened heart, it wasn't because the Lord was fighting himself, but the Lord was using Pharaoh's rebellion and the rebellion of Egypt to magnify his name throughout the earth. That's why the Holy Spirit even revealed unto Moses, on behalf of Pharaoh, that the only reason that Pharaoh's in the position he's in is because the Holy Spirit himself pushed him into that position, knowing he would rebel, knowing he would harden himself, so those people would use his rebellion to magnify himself. Listen, God has not changed. What you think is a plague may in fact be a push of the Holy Spirit into the better. So don't resist his push. That doesn't mean that you just surrender to the circumstances or to the assaults. No. Just agree with him. Be at peace.